Hello and welcome to In the Kitchen with Mary Mac. Today it's Pie Mania. We're baking pies to get ready for something that's going to be happening at Standing Chimney tomorrow, but this won't air until after that, so I guess you're going to miss it. But we're baking a bunch of pies, and today I'm going to tell you how to do a very simple kind of a pie that even if you're not a pie baker, will be pretty simple to do. And like I said before in one of my other podcasts, I hate to even say simple because I know sometimes things are just daunting. But this is a pretty easy recipe. This is for a strawberry pie, but this will work with any fresh fruit. And what we're doing is something that's called a cookie crust. You can use this cookie crust in a lot of different ways. It's very simple. It is not a rollout crust. It's called a pat in the pan crust, and what that means is you mix the ingredients up, and they'll look. I'll have some pictures up when I post this, but they'll look kind of like a crumb topping or just big crumbs. And when you put them into your pie dish and press them together, they stick together and form your crust. And this crust calls for 1 1/4 cup flour, 1/2 cup powdered sugar, and 1/2 cup butter. I also used a little cream in it because mine, I'm not very good on measuring sometimes, and I think I got a little too much flour. So I put a little bit of heavy whipping cream in to kind of pull it together and hold it together. This works very nice in a pie dish. This also works if you want to make a fruit pizza using the same recipe. You can make a fruit pizza, so it also works for that. We've got the crust ready to go, and what you do, you press this crust into your pie dish. Make sure you get a nice seam around it. Make sure that you don't have any loose crummy stuff on it, because that'll bake and get hard. But you get that all in place, and then you're going to bake that because you're going to be putting fresh fruit into this filling. This particular recipe, you'll need, I think I used, it's going to end up being about 1.5 quarts of strawberries because I like a lot of strawberries. And then you'll need that 1/2 quart, like a quart of actual strawberries, and then 1/2 quart to make the glacé that's going to go over it, or glaze, as we say here in the United States of America.
I've never heard anyone say glacé.
That's the actual term. If you find the pre-made stuff in the grocery store, it's spelled out with a little accent over the E, so you know you're supposed to say glacé. But we're just gonna make the glaze, and what you do is you take a few berries. Like I said, if you take about if you use 1 1/2 quarts of berries and you use about 1/2 quart, you're gonna take those, clean them, smash them up in a pan with a thick bottom. And you're going to add 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, 1/2 cup of water, and now this calls for a cup of sugar, but that's really a lot of sugar, so I would say 1/2 cup of sugar. And you're going to cook that on the stove, and that will form a clear strawberry glaze to put over your fresh strawberries. The strawberries themselves you're just going to clean and cut up. You can either leave them whole, standing up in the pie shell for looks, or like I did, I just sliced them because I think it makes it a little easier to eat, easier to cut, definitely. So that's going to be your pie, basically. We're going to take these crusts and bake them at 350 degrees for 15 minutes, and we're going to let them cool. Then, while you're doing the baking, actually, this is what I figured I'd do. While I'm doing the baking, you can assemble your strawberry pie, or strawberry pizza, or fruit pizza, or whatever. And like the glaze I just said, that works with any fruit. You can use blueberries, raspberries, anything like that would work. Now, for the strawberry pizza, the base of that, if you want to make a fruit pizza, this works with any fruit. You use an 8-ounce package of cream cheese, 2/3 cup powdered sugar, and a teaspoon of vanilla. You mix that well, spread that on top of your baked cold crust. Make sure it's cold, because if it's not cold, it'll melt, and you can't rush it. You're going to spread that on top of your crust, cover that with your strawberries, and then pour your cooled glaze over the top of that, and it's ready to go. And I've seen this done with, like, if you want to make a variety, you can use kiwis, bananas, strawberries, any kind of fruit like that. Works really nicely, and it makes a very nice dessert, tea, snack, whatever. It's really, really delicious. For the pie, You do not have to use that cream cheese. If you want to, you sure can. And it's, like I said, 8-ounce pack of cream cheese, 2/3 cup powdered sugar, and a teaspoon of vanilla. However, generally for the pie, basically what you're going to do is take that cold crust. You don't have to fill it right now. Like if you want to use this tomorrow for dessert, or if you have people coming over in a day or two, you can make this crust up, bake it, wrap it securely, and put it in your refrigerator or freezer until you're ready to use it. That's a really nice, that makes it really nice because what a quick dessert. But what you're going to do is fill your crust, your cold baked crust, with your sliced strawberries. And then over that, you're going to pour your glaze. And then refrigerate it. And it'll kind of set up. It might not set up like, frozen pie or something like that. But it'll kind of set up. So when you go to serve it, you can cut it, plate it, and put some whipped cream on it, and you have a very delicious dessert that is beautiful, will look beautiful on the plate. This can also work, like I said, with blueberries, and the same thing. If you're going to use blueberries, you can either use the base or not use the base, the cream cheese base. Don't have to use it. As far as for the glaze, if your strawberries are really sweet, you can get away with very, very little sugar in your glaze because it'll thicken up just the same. It's just the cornstarch that's thickening it, so it's not going to make or break it, But this is a really nice summer dessert to make, the pie. It's especially a nice dessert to take somewhere because it's so quick and easy to make. And I basically took about, maybe an hour altogether cutting up strawberries, cooking my glacé down, and preparing my crust. So by the time if you overlap while your crusts are doing something and you're working on your berries, it's a pretty quick dessert to make. So like I said, I've been making pies all day, and I have a variety here. Hopefully during the peach and blueberry season, we'll be able to do a peach blueberry show because there's a lot of stuff you can do with peaches and blueberries. They're very good together. They make an excellent pie. And we'll tell you about that. When we get to apple season, we'll do some apple pies. Another pie we're going to be having at Pie Day night, which is a really easy and delicious pie to make, is a Toll House pie. This is just like you heard, classic chocolate chip cookie. A purchased pie crust works really well for this pie because there's butter. There's a great deal of butter in this pie.
There's so much butter in
and
this pie.
And it'll seep into your crust and actually make it better than it was when you bought it. But it works really nice with a purchased crust. For what you're going to do for this pie, this is a simple one to remember. 3 eggs, 3/4 cup of flour, 3/4 cup of white sugar, 3/4 cup of brown sugar, 3/4 cup of butter, melted and cooled, and a cup and a half of chocolate chips.
A cup and a half?
What do we usually put in?
I usually do 3/4 cups.
A 3/4 cup.
If I put in a cup, it always ends up being really melty. So I do 3/4 cups.
I was thinking of doubled recipe.
Yeah.
Sorry. Everything is 3/4 in this recipe, which makes it easy to remember. It's either 3/4 of a cup of everything, and then 3 eggs.
The trouble is, last time I made these pies, for some reason, I know that a stick of butter is half a cup. But I don't know why I did this. I used 3/4 of a stick of butter instead of 3/4 of a cup. And the pies actually turned out really well. Except it was more of a cookie consistency than normal, but
they were so weird.
It was very weird, but it actually baked well. I screw these pies up all the time. I hardly ever get them right.
Yeah, and she makes
but they never turn out bad.
Yeah, she makes them all the time. So that's easy to remember. 3 eggs and 3/4 of a cup of everything else. Now, you're going to, like I said, use a purchased crust because that's just easiest unless you want to make one, but whatever. We bake these at 350 degrees, and they take a good 40 minutes to bake. So what you're going to do, you're going to beat your eggs up, mix your sugar into your eggs, and then take your melted butter that has come to room temperature and pour that in and mix it up, and then add your flour and mix that up. Once you have it all mixed up, it'll be like a cake batter consistency. You're going to add your chocolate chips, stir that up, pour it into your pie crust, and bake it at 350 for about 40 minutes. This pie is funny, and you can tell when it's set up simply by looking at it, it'll start from the edges of the crust and sort of wrinkle in towards the middle. You can test it with a knife. That's a good way to tell if it's done. Or just touch it very lightly with your finger. But if it's underbaked, it's still edible. If it's slightly underbaked, it's still edible. If it's overbaked, is really not even a concern because it just becomes more like a cookie if it's overbaked.
Yeah.
But this is a really, really good pie if you're going somewhere. Again, very simple to make, very easy to take, and you can cut it into really small slices because it's pretty rich. So we generally, let me say this. In my house, we cut it into really big slices, okay? But in a normal human's house, not ours, normal humans could get 12 slices out of this pie because it's kind of a rich pie. You're going to want to use like a 9 or a 10-inch pie plate to make it though. Don't use a very small pie plate for this. You want a bigger pie plate. So if you use like a Pyrex 9 or 10-inch or a big aluminum 9 or 10-inch, that works really well. And this pie is excellent with whipped cream. Even if like warm with whipped cream, very good. So that's another pie that we're
It's also really good room temperature for breakfast pie the next day is very good. And a really good way to tell when it's done in the oven is whenever you go to pull the oven rack out to check if it's done, if the top jiggles at all, give it like 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
Because once it's done, the top crust won't be jiggling. And like if you tap on it, it won't jiggle around.
That's a very good point. Yeah, very good point. And that's another good pie that we make. So those are two. They're not really seasonal. I mean, the Toll House pie, we make it year-round. So it's like, that's a nice thing because it's not seasonal. The fresh fruit pie is kind of seasonal. But wherever you live in the country, you can use whatever happens to be seasonal soft fruit at that time. It works great with peaches, blueberries, strawberries, any kind of raspberry. And it's just a very nice, versatile cold pie. And if you decide to use it as a fruit pizza, there's a variety of fruits you can use on there. You can just go crazy with it. But that's a good recipe and fairly easy to make. So we hope you enjoyed our little pie show. We'll do another one, like maybe in the summertime when we have some different fruits available and the apples are starting to come on in the summertime. We'll show you how to make a Dutch apple pie and a peach blueberry pie and show you how to speak well with your lips moving. Oh, Lordy. But thank you for listening. And we hope to see you sometime at Standing Chimney, although it's in Western Pennsylvania, so I understand that if you're not in Western Pennsylvania, it'll be really difficult for you to get there. But check us out online. Our website is standingchimney.com. And check out our Facebook page, Standing Chimney. We have great pictures around the farm. And also Mary Mac Bakehouse is on Facebook, and I do a lot of recipes and cooking and pictures of things on there also. Thank you for listening if you did, and if you didn't, too bad for you.